This season, Alex Albon has been nothing short of brilliant, currently standing in the championship as best of the rest, ahead of someone driving a Mercedes which has comfortably been the second to fourth fastest car this season. And Alex Albon has been a consistent king this year after so many doubters at the start of the season, because everyone was calling him a mid driver and that Carlos Sainz will obliterate him after Franco Colapinto came in last year with no experience and matched him instantly. But it's been the opposite. He's been obliterating Sainz, but I'll be fair to Carlos, it's his first year driving a Mercedes power unit. He's with a new team. Pretty much everyone who went to a new team apart from Hülkenberg has been struggling massively this year. But it's not to take away from Alex Albon's brilliance, and rightly so. Every single F1 fan has been praising him, calling him arguably a top 7, top 6 driver this year. But the fanfare for Albon hasn't always been like
Albon again, no, with Lewis Hamilton!
This guy is such a fun
Trying to get past Pierre Gasly, locks up! Gasly has to go wide.
They raced me so hard.
That is a red flag, and you can see the damage that has been done there.
If that little jewel will attract the attention of the Red Bull pit wall. I want your place now, and I want you.
Who's in last place at the end of lap 1, comes home to win the Sakhir Grand Prix, Sergio Perez. Wow!
Hello, Richard.
Hey Sergio, welcome to Red
How are you
Bull.
doing? Thanks, man.
Congratulations and welcome to the team.
Thanks, Richard. I'm so much looking forward to it.
It was quite a weird feeling going into the weekend, but to have a good result, yeah, relatively proud.
Anyways, let's talk. Be sure to subscribe. Next goal is 15,000 and follow me on Instagram because, why not? I'm trying to reach 300 there. Alexander Albon Ancesino was born in Westminster, London in the 23rd of March 1996. Hey, he was born a week before me. I was born in 1st April 2007. I know, April Fools. And he was born to a British dad, Nigel Albon, who was also a racing driver, and a Thai mom, Minky Albon. And at the age of 10, his career in karts began, winning 2 championships in his first season of doing karts. He would do okay in 2007 and 2008, only managing 1 championship, but he did have 2 runner-ups and 2 second runner-ups. But the year 2009 would be his most successful yet, competing in 4 championships and winning 3 of them, finishing 5th in the one that he didn't win, which is still really good. Things are looking on the up for Alex Albon. In the following year, in 2010, Alex Albon would win 2 more karting championships, the FIA Karting World Cup and the FIA Karting European Championship, and he would be finishing ahead of very notable drivers, Max Verstappen, Pierre Gasly, Esteban Ocon, and Jake Dennis. Alex Albon was, Charles Leclerc too. Alex Albon was no joke. He would do another year in karts, finishing with 2 runner-ups, and in 2012, he finally moved on to open wheel racing. And he was doing it with the Red Bull Junior team with very notable drivers Danny Kvyat and Carlos Sainz. And he would be competing in the Euro Cup Formula Renault 2.0 and the Formula Renault 2.0 Alps. But unfortunately, his performances were not good enough for Red Bull to keep him. In Euro Cup Formula Renault 2.0, he finished 38th with 0 points, competing in 14 races, and in Formula Renault 2.0 Alps, he finished 16th with 26 points, competing in 14 races, and he would be dropped by the Red Bull Junior team at the end of the racing calendar. Was this deserved? I'm not sure. Given it's his first season in open wheel racing, it's expected to underperform, but in the end, it's what happened, so you gotta roll with it. You gotta take your time. You gotta say what you say. Don't let anybody get in your way. It's not the end of the world. It's just your first season in race cars. But it sure did feel like it for Alex. This goes to show how cruel the world of motorsport is if you are not filthy rich. She was actually arrested in 2008, but in 2012 she got the full prison sentence of 6 years. So she would only be out in 2018, but she was let go in 2015. And Alex has gone on record saying that this was the hardest period of his life. so I don't really want to touch on this too much. Alex would be doing 2 more years in different Formula Renault 2.0 series, the Euro Cup Formula Renault 2.0 and Formula Renault 2.0 NEC. Instead of Epic Racing, this time he was driving for KTR. He would be driving alongside now Super GT driver Yu Kanemaru and Ignacio D'Agosto. And this was for the 2013 season, and it wasn't the best. He did get 1 pole position in Euro Cup Formula Renault 2.0, and he was able to get a fastest lap and a podium in Formula Renault 2.0 NEC. So not bad, I guess. It's a minor step up from his first season in Formula Renault 2.0. But in 2014, things would be a lot better. He finished 3rd in the Formula Renault 2.0 Euro Cup, finishing ahead of notable drivers Jack Aitken, Antoine Hubert, and Nick Cassidy. Meanwhile, Nick De Vries ran away with the championship. But a pretty good showing from Alex, a pole position and 3 podiums. So yeah, really solid. Another minor improvement from 2013. And he was also able to win a race in the Northern European Championship. So you know what? Not a minor improvement, a massive improvement, if I do say so myself. In 2015, Alex would be moving to the European F3 Championship with a very stacked grid. Let's look at this. Felix Rosenqvist, Antonio Giovinazzi, Jake Dennis, Charles Leclerc, Lance Stroll, Russell, Albon, Maximilian Gutz, Santino Ferrucci, no one cares about him, Callum Ilott, Sergio Sette Camara, Nick Cassidy, Pietro Fittipaldi, Arjun Maini. What is this grid? This could be... Okay, I don't really know if all of them are F1 worthy, but this is a really solid grid today. And where did Alex finish? P7. That's very respectable. That's ahead of Maximilian Gutz, Callum Ilott, Santino Ferrucci. That's not really an achievement, coming ahead of Santino Ferrucci. He wasn't able to manage a race win, but he managed 2 pole positions and 5 podiums. So a really decent showing, and an appearance at the Macau Grand Prix. So 2015, really good year for Alex. Even his mom got released from prison. That's nice to see. And if 2015 was really good for Alex, 2016 is when he would hit his stride in the GP3 series. He's now in ART-GP, alongside none other than Charles Leclerc, who, as we all know, had one of the best junior careers of all time. And you would think that Charles Leclerc probably dominated this championship. Yes, it's still a stacked championship, but it's not as stacked as 2015 European F3. But no, he didn't really dominate. Alex Albon was always there to challenge him, and they were having a season-long battle, with Charles Leclerc winning the championship with a race to spare, and ended up beating Alex Albon by 45 points. So yes, Charles Leclerc is the champion, but Alex Albon took a massive leap with his performance, and this was enough to move into the newly rebranded F2 Championship. And with the development jump Alex Albon had in 2016, yeah, he was expected to challenge Charles Leclerc for the championship. It wasn't even close. Charles Leclerc demolished the entire grid by 72 points. And he also took away what was going to be Alex Albon's only win of the season. Then he jumped to Alfa Romeo Sauber the following year. And Alex was still stuck in F2 as he only finished 10th. But that's fine. You know, it's a harder car to drive than the F3 car, and some drivers take longer than others to adjust. So, yeah, we can let this slide for Alex Albon. But things won't be made easier in the next season. I think these 2 drivers need no introduction. We all know how insanely talented George Russell and Lando Norris is. And yes, even though I did say it takes a year or 2 to adjust to a new racing series, but George and Lando were considered generational talents at the time. So, it was going to be a challenge. And it was actually a challenge for Alex right out the gate, because he didn't have a seat. It was now George Russell and another Asian driver, Jack Aitken. This was not justified, in my opinion, just because he had 1 bad season, and that was his rookie season as well. I don't think they should have moved on from him at all. But I know ART don't regret the decision to this day by the end of the season. But lucky enough for Alex, Dams was able to pick him up. And what was looking like a Russell versus Norris year quickly became a Russell versus Norris versus Albon year. He didn't have the best start in Bahrain. Well, he did qualify 3rd, but by the end of the weekend, he was only 6th in the standings. But Baku would be a change of pace. He got pole position. He won the feature race. He finished outside the points because of a clutch issue, but by the end of the weekend, he was 2nd in the standings. Yes, even though the challenge from Alex was always there, most of the season was Russell versus Norris. Until the Russian Grand Prix. Nick De Vries got pole position for the feature race, with Norris and Russell completing the top 3, and Alex Albon was 5th. And in the feature race, Alex Albon won from 5th place. And it was a damns 1-2. Hey, shout out Nicholas Latifi. Then in the sprint race, Russell wins with the fastest lap. Alex finishes P3, not bad. And again, crucially for the championship, Lando Norris DNFs. The gap between Russell and Albon decreases to 34 points. Norris is out of the championship. That means going into Abu Dhabi, the championship battle went from Russell versus Norris to Russell versus Albon. And then Alex finishes outside the points in the feature race, and George Russell wins and is therefore the world champion. And Alex actually drops from 2nd to 3rd. Oh well, but it showed throughout the season that Alex is legitimate. And his title rivals got F1 seats for the following season. That means he should definitely get one. He got a Formula E seat instead. I cannot stress enough how important it is to be in a driver academy if you're a junior driver looking to get your way into F1. I know, facecam scare. I don't know why I randomly decided to add facecam in this part, but I did, so there you go. And no, I don't wear polos at home, I just got back from a Sting concert. He was epic.
Every little thing she does is magic. Everything she turns me on.
But back to the point. Sting's not important. What is important is that George Russell and Lando Norris were part of a driver academy. So obviously, George Russell was with Mercedes and Lando Norris was with McLaren. And as I said, Alex Albon in 2012, first year in the Red Bull Academy, left the same year. You can look at it historically. Almost every driver who got into F1 had a driver academy. Obviously, Lewis Hamilton with McLaren, Antonio Giovinazzi with Ferrari, Sebastian Vettel with Red Bull. The only example I can give you that a driver got into F1 without a driver academy, off the top of my head, Nikita Mazepin, which we all know why he got into F1, and Brendan Hartley. And I'll say this, Brendan Hartley is a great endurance driver, but as an F1 driver, not so much. So Alex Albon called up Helmut Marko to ask him if there's an open seat. Helmut Marko took a while to respond to him, but the second Toro Rosso seat was open, and he was filling in the place of Brendan Hartley, and he'll be paired alongside Danny Kvyat. And this is where I get a bit sentimental, because Alex Albon is from Thailand. That's from Southeast Asia. I'm from Southeast Asia. I am Filipino. My accent doesn't show it. But yes, I am Filipino and I live in Singapore. And yes, we do have Southeast Asian representation in F1 before, but they weren't really good representation. Alex Young is probably the worst F1 driver of all time, and we didn't really get to see what Rio Haryanto could do. But we're finally getting really good representation in motorsport, considering he was fighting for the F2 championship just a year before, and he's in a really prolific team, Toro Rosso, who obviously are affiliated with Red Bull. So the prospect of a Southeast Asian driver that can potentially get into a top team, a race-winning team, was so good for me at the time, I became a huge Alex Albon supporter in 2019. So Alex's rookie season started off actually pretty good. In his second ever race at the Bahrain Grand Prix, he scored his first points in Formula 1, and in his third race at the Chinese Grand Prix, he had a pit lane to points finishing position, so not bad at all. And sure, stacked up against Danny Kvyat, Danny did look like the better driver, but I think Alex honestly was a bit faster during this timeline. I think he had better qualifying pace as shown in their head-to-head, but throughout the race distance, obviously Kvyat was still better. I mean, he had a podium at the German Grand Prix for crying out loud, but the German Grand Prix wasn't that bad for Alex Albon. It also had this moment.
Up into the podium, and there, going wide, that's Gasly. There's a problem there with his front wing.
And Gasly was going to the right. They both went right together.
Gasly was having the absolute worst possible rookie season. When his teammate Max Verstappen was winning races and getting consistent podiums, he was trundling somewhere in the midfield and sometimes out of the points. And compared to the other sophomore on the grid who also got promoted to a senior team, this was not a look good for Gasly. Which is why, rightfully so, come the summer break, they replaced Pierre Gasly with Danny Kvyat. Okay, yes, I know I said I would have been excited if Alex went to Red Bull because he's a Southeast Asian driver in a top team and I'm Southeast Asian myself, but I couldn't help but think that they should have put Danny Kvyat in that seat and have Gasly and Albon head-to-head at Toro Rosso, decide who's better, then by the 2020 season, you promote one of them into the Red Bull team. I feel like that would be a much better option, but They won with Alex Albon. Hey, I'm not mad at it. I was very excited and happy with this at the time. And in his first race for Red Bull, he dropped a slapper of a performance, coming from P17 all the way up to P5. And his head-to-head stacked up against Max Verstappen was a lot better than Pierre Gasly's. But we don't really come to the first two races because they both had grid penalties, but it's whatever. Alex looked a lot more comfortable in the Red Bull than Gasly ever did, and Gasly also looked very comfortable in the Toro Rosso to the point where he got a podium at the Brazilian Grand Prix, which ironically was the race Alex could have got his podium, but thanks to Lewis Hamilton, that didn't happen. He was the only Red Bull affiliated driver who didn't get a podium in 2019. But did he show promise? He didn't just show promise, he showed a lot of it, finishing in the top 6 in every race in the second half of 2019, obviously apart from Interlagos. So the expectation was high for 2020, the COVID-affected year, and it showed in the first race when he was on course for a race win.
Albon is all over the back of Hamilton, who once again forces in the long way round. Norris goes the long way round on Perez,
no,
and Albon again, no, with Lewis Hamilton.
This single moment right here derailed the entirety of this 2020 season. Did he get 2 podiums? Yes, he did. But every time him and Max finished together, he never once did finish ahead of Max. At least Gasly did that once, albeit at the British Grand Prix when Seb smashed into the rear end of Verstappen. And especially considering the season Checo had, Alex Albon was dropped for the 2020 season. It was a rough year for everyone. You know, COVID affected different people differently. We don't know what was going on with Alex. That can be a factor. But is it justifiable to keep him, especially when a driver like Sergio Perez is available on the cards? In my opinion, considering Red Bull in 2021 were fighting for the championship, in my opinion, I don't know if it was worth it to keep Alex. So where did Alex go for 2021? DTM. But I know a lot of you don't remember that because you remember the 2021 DTM season for something else. Now, George Russell was set to leave Williams for Mercedes, and Valtteri Bottas could have went to Williams, but he went to Alfa Romeo instead. And this image was floating around. People thought at the time that it looked like Alex Albon, so that meant Albon was driving for Williams. I actually thought it looks a lot more like Nick de Vries. And Nick de Vries to Williams at the time made a lot of sense. He's a Mercedes affiliated driver. He just won the Formula E championship with Mercedes. So in my mind, Nick de Vries was driving for Williams in 2022. But then it was officially announced that it was Alex Albon. So this was Alex Albon, right? No, that was Steve Alvarez Brown, Super GT. That Veloce video was peak entertainment. But Alex Albon is now a Williams driver, and at the time this prospect was interesting because he was still a Red Bull affiliated driver and Williams used a Mercedes power unit, and then that's not important in today's video. It was interesting. I think a lot of people would have preferred to have Nick de Vries over at Williams, but I certainly didn't mind the choice of Alex Albon. I mean, who else were we going to pick at the time other than him and de Vries? But this opportunity was perfect for Alex. A load of pressure taken off his shoulders. He was in a brand new project, a midfield team with a direction going into the future thanks to Dorland Capital and, at the time, Jos Capito. So this, in my opinion, was the perfect reset for him. Also, considering Williams had a really good 2021 season, you could see big things from Alex in 2022. But unfortunately, in their first time round, Williams didn't nail the new regulations. He only finished with 4 points, and Jos Capito was out at the end of the season. Well, not because he was a bad team principal, he wanted to leave anyway, so. I met Capito, by the way, in his final year with Williams. And Jos Capito's replacement came in James Vowles. And the Vowles-Albon partnership worked right out the bat, as in the first race of 2023 at the Bahrain Grand Prix, Alex scored points. In fact, he was consistently getting points that year, scoring 27 points and finishing P13, a massive step up from 2022. In fact, he was rumored to replace Carlos Sainz at Ferrari at some point. That's how good his 2023 season was. Now, 2023 was a success for Alex and Williams, but how about 2024? For most of the year, it was pretty much the same story we saw in 2023. Alex getting the points and Logan Sargent doing Logan Sargent things. Although I'm very happy he's now at IMSA. Good luck to him out there. But when Williams replaced Logan Sargent with Franco Colapinto mid-season, and Colapinto impressed right out the gate, Alex's legitimacy as a top driver was questioned a bit. and reasonably so if you look at who he beat as teammates. And with proven multiple-time race winner Carlos Sainz coming in for the 2025 season, this was going to be the real test for Alex Albon. Now, if there was a grade we could put in this test, Alex would be in Harvard or MIT right now. This season so far, he's finished in the points 11 out of 17 times. That's double his teammate Carlos Sainz, who's finished in the points 6 out of 17 times. Yes, Carlos did get a podium, and he's finally getting to grips with the Williams, and maybe he could be challenging Albon sooner or later, but that's not to take away from the brilliance of Alex Albon this season, especially when at the beginning of the year, he had many doubters. He had many doubters because of what we saw from Colapinto last year and the teammates he beat, but he proved that he can easily match up to a driver of a stature like Carlos. Oh, and I know this inter-team battle is going to be exciting when Carlos Sainz finally fully gets to grips with this Williams team, so be prepared for that next year or even for the rest of the season. There are exciting times to come for Alex Albon, especially that first podium with Williams. If you remember my Williams mini documentary from the start of this year, they're going to get a podium some point this season, I'm just saying. Williams are notoriously known for their good straight line speed, so shoot, maybe they could get one at Azerbaijan or Monza. Next is Singapore. I'm just saying, I have the lottery numbers. Alex Albon will be on the podium in Singapore or Brazil, but it would be so good if he got it here in Singapore. Southeast Asian driver finishing on the podium and the only Southeast Asian country currently on the F1 calendar. That's such a good story. There has to be rain. If it's wet affected, there's a higher chance of it happening. Trust me, it will happen. What will also happen is that Leo Block will win both races, race 1 and race 2 in F1 Academy in Singapore, and I will get a paddock pass in the Williams garage. Please, Williams, make it happen. There's only a week left of the Grand Prix, come on. But anyways, that'll do it for today's video. Let me know where you think Alex Albon's career is going, and let's also hope that in a few years' time, I don't have to update this video into the rise, the fall, the rise, and the fall again of Alex Albon. I really don't want to. But anyways, thanks for watching, and goodbye.